In this lesson, we are going to begin to do some derivatives of some trig functions. Specifically, we're just going to focus on sines and cosines. So in general, the derivative of sine is cosine, and the derivative of cosine is negative sine. And actually, the derivative of any so like a cotangent, cosecant, cosine, is always going to have a negative associated to it. And just a quick, before we get into the math, like, well, how does that work out? Why do they just kind of work out that way? So remember that a derivative is a slope. So this is a slope equation of this. So if you look at the original, right, that there's our original, this is our slope equation, according to this. And so if you look at it, this graph has a slope of 1 at the very beginning, and the slopes start to decrease until we get to a slope of 0 at the top, which would be this point. And then we start to have negative slopes that hit their maximum negative slope here at pi. And so we hit a negative, so that's a negative slope of -1, right? That's the steepest. And then it starts to level back out and the slopes become, they're still negative, but they're getting smaller, right? And then we get a slope of 0 here. And then we start to have positive slopes. And then we hit our steepest point before it starts to level off again here. So, and that works for this as well. Here's cosine. We have negative slopes. We have negative slopes right away. So we have positive with a negative attached. So if I actually graphed this, it would be the reflection of this and have negative slopes right away, hitting its peak at this spot. So there is a nice correlation between them, but just to kind of make sure we're okay with connecting it. So let's do a couple of examples. We'll do 2 of them. We'll save this for the next video. So if we're looking at this, we're looking to do the derivative of this. First thing I recognize is that it's a product. You have, this is one piece and this is a second piece. So we're going to be doing, just refresh. We have a product. So to do the product, we're going to be doing the derivative of the first. So the derivative of e to the x is e to the x times the second. And then plus the first times the derivative of the second. And the derivative of the second, derivative of cosine, is negative sine. All right, so now the calc is done. We just got to do some cleanup. So the cleanup on this is really not much of just, let's rewrite that instead of an addition sign, let's put a subtraction sign there. And then the last thing that I'm going to do, which is technically this is right, but a lot of times there's going to be a next step to this, and that next step is almost always setting it equal to 0. And so I like to kind of get in the habit of taking this e to the x and factoring it out, and then cosine x minus sine x. And then what it does is potentially there's something else from time to time that I can do with this, is combine some like terms, or especially with trig, some identity that I can replace it and make it less, right? I can take 2 terms and replace it with 1 term. Not the case on this one, but I just kind of get in that good habit of factoring out an e to the x. All right, on this one, we're looking to do the derivative of this. And so we have the derivative of sine is cosine. However, we have another product rule. So the derivative of x times cosine. So product again. So we have the derivative. Let me put this in parentheses because we're going to subtract this whole thing. So the derivative of x is 1 times cosine x plus, so the derivative of the first times the second, and then plus the first times the derivative of the second, and derivative of cosine is negative sine. All right, so we got some cleanup to do again. So we're looking at cosine x. And if I distribute this negative in, we're going to have a minus cosine x, and then minus a minus, so plus x sine x. And then I'll combine whatever like terms I can, which is these 2 going away. And so our final answer is just x sine x. And that is the derivative of this, right? So that's what we got going on. Derivative of sine is cosine, derivative of cosine is negative sine. Apply it. Of course, product rules and quotient rules and all that stuff is still going to apply throughout these problems.